Hi guys, I'm Justin.
I'm Lee.
I'm Eric.
I'm Carl.
And today we go over a fan requested episode, I guess we could say, where we are going to go over Lucio Fulci's Zombie.
Right
so get comfy and join us as we talk about probably one of the most iconic zombie films in all of horror of all time. So we hope you guys enjoy, and we're going to get started right after the intro.
Whoa, welcome to Horrorland.
So Lucio Fulci, great Italian director, master of horror. We have a ton of great films from him, but one of his most probably iconic and notable is 1978, 1979, Zombie. I think it's 79.
79, I do believe, because it came out a year after Dawn, and Dawn was 78.
Okay. So 79, Zombie. Yeah. Who wants to start with it? I mean, we can. Yeah.
We could all talk for hours about it. So,
I'm not going to talk for hours about it, but y'all.
I'll say what I've said before. Me and Eric have both said it. With Italian horror, three things for sure. Mm-hmm. It's going to look absolutely fantastic for the time. The most vivid cinematography, the reds, all the colors, but there's a whole lot of style, not a whole lot of substance. Mm-mm. There's not a big plot. It's not a real deep thinker movie, but it's a fantastic movie. It's one of my all-time favorite zombie movies. It's two of the most iconic kill scenes, and and it's Fulci at his finest.
Yeah. For me personally, when you're talking about Zombie and City of the Living Dead and House by the Cemetery, all those Fulci films, I've watched just about everything that him and Argento have put out. And boy, you talk about two contrasting styles. You've got Argentino who goes around and he's like an artist. Truly, like a painter. When he does a scene, you can tell everything in that room has been put there on purpose. Intent. And he is very meticulous. And then you get to Fulci and he's like taking a hammer. It's like somebody flying a kite and the other guy's behind him with the hammer ready to bash his brains in. That's what I see Dario Argento and they both do wonderful work. I'm not bashing Fulci at all. He just does not have a subtle style. He is in your face. It's like somebody screaming in your face, look at this, whenever you watch one of his films. Because he's not going to let you be bored, and he's not going to let you get out of that movie without maybe vomiting in your mouth once. That's just the way his films are. All of them are that way. There ain't one I've ever watched that wasn't that way, and there probably won't ever be.
No, there's always something really disgusting, gross.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's a contest in his head. He's like, let's see what I can do.
How can I one-up what I just did?
To make everybody vomit this time. I'm just going to try my best. But that's my general view on Fulci anyway.
Yeah. Zombie was, again, iconic. You had Night of the Living Dead in '68. Mm-hmm. We had Dawn of the Dead, and then you kind of had Zombie here. There had not really been a lot of zombie films prior to this. The horror genre would kind of become overrun with them in the years to follow from this. But as Carl said, very simplistic plot, and not. They don't focus a lot on the plot throughout the film. It's pretty much, they focus on the zombies and the things to come. Generalized plot of it is a boat shows up in the harbor of New York.
Yeah.
And they go to investigate said boat, and when they do, there is a zombie on board. And so they wind up killing the zombie. They kind of take the boat. They're investigating it, trying to find the owner. They find the owner's daughter, who winds up finding a note on the boat. Basically, he has been trapped on this island and he doesn't think he's ever going to get off. So her and her newfound reporter friend take off to this island and basically in search of her father. They find a couple of friends who have are people who they would friend, and they have a boat, so they wind up sailing to the island, and the rest is pretty much history. You can imagine
zombie mischief.
Exactly. So I mean, again, pretty simplistic plot. There's not, it's not like a whole, a whole like really thought out, like really in depth kind of a storyline. It's simplistic, but at the same time, this movie didn't need a really thought out. It was fine with it being simplistic. We get a lot of really 3, in my opinion. I don't know, maybe 4 extremely iconic scenes in this for all. There's definitely probably more, but I would say 4 that stick out the most in my mind. And so, I mean, I think that's probably why this movie is so loved, is mainly those 4 scenes, because you watch this film for those scenes.
Oh yeah, definitely, and you wait like you've never seen it before.
Oh yeah.
I mean, how weird was it? She's scuba diving, and then all of a sudden, off the bottom of the ocean comes the zombie.
Oh yeah, that would be iconic scene number 1. We'll call it shark bait. We'll go ahead and get right into it. So
I'm just going to say on that scene right there. I mean, first of all, where does the zombie come from? They haven't reached the island yet. They're a good ways off from the island, from my understanding. So, in this vast ocean, this zombie has managed to make its way right to them. Yeah. I just find that. Don't get me wrong, I can suspend disbelief. I'm fine with it. I just thought it was funny.
Well, my thought was with that whole scene, like, I get that the zombie's dead, right? But, like, he's just hanging out on the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, I mean, like catching fish, I guess.
No, I think what happened was, in the plot was supposed to be they're trying to reach people. They need brains. So they're walking on the bottom of the ocean to get, like, you saw it again in Land of the Dead. When Big Daddy took them across the bay. It was so, I don't know, it was just...
But my support to him was, I found it odd that the boat in the first place made it back to New York. With a zombie on board.
With a zombie on board, and it was on, auto steer.
Yeah.
You got to think too. 79 was a much different time. So these things that we are kind of nitpicking now, they really would have been nitpicks back then, for the simple fact of, back in 79, you didn't have as much of the genre to, kind of suspend your disbelief in order to kind of give comparisons to.
Exactly.
There wasn't enough to be like, oh, he's on the bottom of the ocean because of this, because in this movie this is why. Right. That thought process wasn't there yet. So we really get a lot of people who I think are lost a lot in this movie because it didn't explain it. And in 79, people still need a lot of things explained. And that is not saying like, oh, people of that era were not at all. I'm saying there was not enough.
Completely different.
Exactly. There was not enough other stuff out there to compare it to get a good grasp on what was really happening in this. And to Fulci's credit, again, he gave us that backstory for some of his stuff. The look of the zombies, the way that they rose out, the way that they did some of the things they do in this movie. He gave the backstory.
That's what I found
more so than any other film that come before it.
Because this was supposed to be an unofficial sequel to Dawn of the Dead, unofficially. And that's what I found one of the most interesting things about that film is that in this movie he goes out of his way to explain how the zombie apocalypse happened. It was voodoo. It wasn't a random satellite going over or anything. It wasn't anything like that. It was voodoo on the
practitioners
that created the whole thing.
And I will say the zombies did look good.
Absolutely.
And then if you look at that, how random is it that an Italian horror director is looking at voodoo, which, I mean, once you get outside of Haiti, the Caribbean kind of thing, it's southern United States.
I made some notes. And
that kind of thing. And it was, they hit a home run with that, and it was, and another thing, she brought up Dawn of the Dead. He's the reason Dawn of the Dead was made. I mean, he pushed the financing and everything.
That was Dario.
Or it was Dario Argento.
One of the big things, Lee just touched on it too. And let's look at Dawn for just a minute. Like, when you look at Dawn of the Dead, your zombies they've got that blue skin and like extremely red blood.
Yes.
And in this one, the look of the zombie is completely different. They're decayed. Yes. They don't have that blue look. You still
They're
have
more believable.
You still have the extremely red.
Yeah.
Yes, and like again, that's something that made it work on so many levels. Because if you go again back to Night of the Living Dead in '68, it's black and white. There was makeup, but it was very little because again, no one was going to see the damn color. So like, no one saw the blood. No one saw once
black.
they colorized it.
Yeah.
Once they colorized it, it still wasn't. It wasn't all that great.
It wasn't.
So in all honesty, that could back to last week's episode of Gateway Horror. Hell, Night of the Living Dead could almost be a gateway horror because of the way that it was. I mean, there's very little in it.
Yeah.
But regardless, like again, this movie. Storyline, whatever you want to call it, it's iconic for a lot of different reasons, and the look of the zombies, yet another one.
Yes, and I made several notes from looking around on the internet and all this kind of stuff about that. I don't want to beat people over the head with facts, but a lot of the stuff they did was based off of old 1930s and 1940s voodoo movies.
Yeah, it was.
Gotcha.
Yeah, White Zombie, all those things. I remember him mentioning in an interview about that. But you're talking about the look and the feel. Remember in the shark scene, he bled green. That real
I love that
sludgy green.
That was the best part of that fight scene was when he tore that arm
Tore
off.
it
It looked
off.
so realistic. It was
And it
amazing.
was just
That whole fight scene is just unreal because you can tell. And Lisa, I think Lisa's the one who brought it up. She was like, that has to be a shark wrangler or something.
It was the trainer of the
You
shark.
could tell it was a legit shark. Like it wasn't some plastic.
Yeah.
No,
It was supposed to have been
it was
an
a
actor,
legit shark.
but he wouldn't go in the water.
I wouldn't either with a damn shark.
Because that was a real tiger
don't
shark.
blame him.
That was a real tiger shark. It was a real attack, but they had sedated the shark so he wouldn't be so aggressive. And that's the only reason why the trainer got in there. He said he wasn't going to do it either, but they tranquilized the
Which
shark.
again, what other damn movie uses a live, real ass
I'm
shark
saying, yeah.
to fight a damn zombie underwater?
Yeah, a whole ass shark, man. It's
like this wasn't someone in a suit. This wasn't someone with a plastic head down there. Like
And you
this
could
was
see
a
that. Like
legitimate
you could
shark.
see that it was real.
Oh yeah,
It was real.
The way that it's
he's
filmed.
laying under it and he's holding its fins and its freaking mouth is on his face.
Yeah.
I was like, shit,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Probably
That's out
the
there.
most iconic scene of I don't want to say of all horror, but damn near of all horror. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at all the sizzle reel kind of stuff when it comes to like people talking about horror, that is one of the number one most used scenes in there because it's so iconic. Because again, who else uses a real live shark? Like,
I'm going to tell you a fact about that, Yard. It's going to blow your mind because it blew my mind when I read it. Fulci didn't want it.
we didn't want the shark.
They wrote that in. That was an added scene. And Fulci said, that's going to look stupid. I'm not filming it. He wouldn't film it. They had second crew film that scene for him.
Huh.
And the producers of the film made him put it in the film.
I've always heard he was very set and like what he wanted was going to be what he got.
That, in the beginning and the end of the film where they're going into New York, they made him add that too because they wanted that link to Dawn of the Dead. And he didn't. He said, "I don't want to be associated with Dawn of the Dead. I want it to be my own film."
Yeah.
And they're like, "We want to make money, so we're going to link it to Dawn of the Dead."
Yeah.
And they just got their way.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I
And see, I actually
understand.
didn't know. I didn't know going in that it was really a link too. So, but I mean, now that you say that, that makes sense with them going across
Yeah.
the bridge at the very end. So,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Yeah.
That was their way of saying this is what started that apocalypse. That Dawn of the
That
Dead
makes
It's
sense.
did.
almost like a prequel.
Yeah.
To,
Yep.
and I'm with you. I mean, that picture right there, that's one of the most iconic ones. With the zombie, almost with that smirk on his face.
The AFI did the 101 scariest moments on film. Guess what was number? I might get the number wrong, people, so you can look me up and correct me. I think it was 25. It wasn't the shark thing. It was that eyeball.
I was going to say the eyeball.
It was
yeah.
the eyeball.
which would be iconic scene number 2 for me. I have a thing with eyeballs. Like, I don't know. That is that's rough. But basically, the scene involves a zombie breaking through the door.
Yeah.
And there is a splinter of wood that is there, and he grabs the female in the scene. He grabs her by the head, and he just inches her ever so close.
Make it last a long time.
Oh yeah. Hey, they inch her to that shard, and then at the very
Slowly,
end,
but just-
boom. But again, the way that they did it, the effects of it, that eyeball squishing and the actual wood going through it, again, iconic. I mean,
It was so just, you felt it. I mean, you felt that in your freaking head.
Well, I mean, she screams in such a way that you really believe it. She sells that scene. She
Very
sells
much
it
so.
big time. A fun fact number, I don't know what number I'm on now, but if you notice in all of Fulci's films, he focuses on the eyes.
Yeah,
he says it in interviews that he feels like that the eyes are the windows to the soul. Yeah. So he all of his movies have eye scenes. Every one of them. He said every one. He said so.
Look at Demons, at the way the eyes.
Yes. Yeah.
And how he reflected that earlier in the car. You know, the car headlights when the drug addicts were in it. Yeah, it's just it's like I said, the Italian directors and as a whole were so much more stylistically articulate than a lot of their American and other European.
They love themes. They love it, and like I said, Fulci, his main thing was the eye. He loves filming it. He loves causing
and the way
trauma.
he did color. You know, that's something that draws me back to his movies all the time. Is the way he plays on color. Blood does it look like real blood? No, it's a garish, bright red, lipstick red blood. But going in, that's what you're going to see.
But while the blood almost looked unrealistic in color, it looks super good. Like when you get the zombies biting throats and stuff, the way that it gushes, the texture. It's not too thin, it's not too thick.
No.
Like and again, back in '79 when this was released, it's almost like, did that blood look more realistic? Because as we've gotten with technology and everything's been scrubbed and made to look better, it almost makes that more red. So back in '79, it was still more red than regular blood, of course, but it didn't look as bad on film back then. Watching it in a drive-in as it does now, watching it on your
4K
big
player,
exactly. So that's always
3 feet from.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something that bothered me that was not streamlined throughout the whole thing, which may be very much nitpicky, but some of the zombies came back to life almost instantly.
Yes.
And some of them were like even buried in the ground, and until somebody was on that ground, they didn't come back to alive or pop up or whatever. And like that part bothered me. Like
there wasn't a time
inconsistencies.
Yes, the inconsistencies with that.
Well, if you look at what they did later on, not necessarily in that movie, but if you look as a whole, the zombie genre, there have been several instances where they've explained that, where they've said
it takes a body a different amount of time.
Each body absorbs the virus at different times.
And maybe that's just something I missed, or maybe it just wasn't explained.
No, it was not explained in that movie at all.
But
that wasn't harkening back to my point of in '79.
Yes,
things needed to be more explained because there wasn't as big of a
didn't have a deluge.
Lee's never seen a lot of zombie, but that's not a genre I watch a lot of. So, iconic scene number 3, though, I would have to give it to
Conquistadors. The Conquistadors, you know about
them raising up out of the ground. Yeah. Again, every other movie we had pretty much had before, they had just been walking in the streets or walking through the woods. Like this one, they're actually buried in the ground. They come up out of the ground, them reaching out of the ground. You've got the cover of this one right here in front of us with the worms crawling all out of the eye socket. Again, just like it just kind of makes your skin crawl a little bit because you're like, damn. That doesn't look like anything I've ever seen before.
No. And, it did it in a way that you couldn't instantly refute. You couldn't go, bullshit, a human would not look like that. We don't know what the hell a human's going to look like buried under sandy soil for 6-8 months or whatever. The deterioration looked authentic.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't like just chunks of skin falling off the bone. Yeah. It was like these guys were legit deteriorating.
Wow. Look completely different from, like, take a zombie in Burial Ground, where they were just cloaked in black, they had a little bit of dirt thrown on them, a few little prosthetics here and there, and they looked really bad. And you take this one, and it's like, you couldn't tell where the makeup ended. Like, you couldn't tell where it started, where it ended. It looks so damn good, and it just, again, lended itself to making this an extremely iconic film.
And then you look at City of the Living Dead. How different those are. First you had the blue cast, almost that color blue in Dawn, and then Fulci comes along, and then the next thing you see how they even move further away into not as much makeup effects and more... looking more recently deceased, I guess you could say. It's just
the zombie would definitely take on different looks, because then you would also have the furry, almost animal-looking in Nightmare of the Living Dead. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. Those zombies were awful.
Terrible.
That was a terrible film. But again, the progression of a zombie.
The
and you
thing
get to
about
the point where Dawn of the Dead remake, where now the bastards run.
yeah, but the thing about the scene you're talking about, it says in the scene before that. If y'all listen to, I actually just watched it yesterday, so it's really fresh in my brain. Where they talk about, you see the what am I trying to say? Oh my God, tombstones. That's what I'm trying to say. You see the tombstones laying around everywhere, and they're like, this is where they buried the conquistadors whenever they attacked the island. What was it, 100 years ago, 150 years ago? That was the only time where I was like, okay, I don't like that. Is whenever they bashed like 3 of their heads in, and it's fresh blood, and it's they're like very much bleeding everywhere.
Yeah, and it should have been better, like dusty.
Yes, I would have think they would have just went to puffs of smoke whenever somebody hit them. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry, guys, we had to redo the camera there. We were about to run out of time. So, Eric, continue on with your thoughts.
I was just going to say that, the conquistadors would have been well over 100, been in the ground for well over 100 years. And if you notice, they were all buried about 2 inches underneath the dirt. I didn't have a problem with that.
Oops, sorry.
But they were buried like 2 inches underneath the dirt. What I did love, though, is the way he rolls them out of the ground. It wasn't like they were like pulling themselves up. It was like they were literally being pushed up out of the ground. Like it was the crazy. That's why that scene is iconic, though, is because I don't even know how he did it. He would have had to have some kind of pulley system to pull them up, but there's nothing to be seen. You don't see anything.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it was very good.
Yeah. Their look, them raising up, definitely something that. I mean, again, really the films that would come after, you had Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
Day of the Dead, like that, or Day of the Dead's what I meant, not Dawn.
Yeah.
But Day of the Dead, like with Bug, they didn't have anything even remotely close to that. All the zombies were just kind of underground. Just the overall look of this one, just so different.
It was, and it played truer to life. They looked like they'd been buried under.
Yeah.
They didn't just look like, hey, I didn't get enough oxygen in my brain today and I turned blue.
Yeah, they looked better than a lot of the zombie movies today.
So the worms were great. That was probably the most thing about it for me was that those were live worms they used, and them suckers was crawling all. If I was as an actor,
the hell no,
I would have lost my mind the first worm that went to my nose. And there's several scenes where if you pause it, you can see them worms trying to work their way up in the nose. I was like, I'd lost my shit right there.
No amount of money. No, thank you.
No. So, again, and then I guess lastly for iconic scenes, in my opinion, is going to be the end scene. Them walking and taking New York, walking in New York, and that score that hits at the very end. That is a very iconic score that is synonymous with this. And
the whole score from beginning to end.
Oh, very much so.
I know why.
Really, it's just kind of a reoccurring. It's just kind of a reoccurring thing. There's not really a lot of different tones and stuff. It's pretty much that same. Throughout the whole thing.
I can tell you, he loves it because it reminds him. He probably didn't even know it, but it reminds him of John Carpenter. And that's because he did it on purpose.
Yeah.
Fulci was a fan of John Carpenter's and wanted to.
And they were super cool about doing that melodic, dissonant kind of drone thing.
Well, it was done on one of the, what do you call it, the electric piano thing.
Synthesizer.
Synthesizer, there you go.
Yeah, and the way they did that, where it was just, you'd have a drone note, because I do it all the time with all that shit. I'd pull a drone note and hold it, and then play stuff under it. It's just cool as shit. And then when they're walking across the bridge, it resolves itself and finishes it out, and it's great.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of stuff like Tangerine Dream and stuff like that. It was just really, really cool.
Yeah. So, I don't really know what else can be said. Again, it was light on story. We had 4 iconic scenes. We went over all 4 of those. Definitely a movie that I feel like almost all horror fans, though, have probably seen. If they haven't, you should.
Oh, you've got to see it. You can't be a horror fan if you've not seen this.
No. It had VHS. It has had multiple DVD releases, clearly multiple Blu-ray releases.
Hasn't it had 4K though, has it?
Yes, Blue Underground has it on 4K.
Do they really?
I just don't have it. But yeah, and then Arrow put it out on Blu-ray. It also goes under the name of Zombie Flesh Eaters. It has a couple different editions, couple different names. You may see it spelled zombie as in the traditional spelling, and you may see it
3 different names too. There's actually another release of it that says Zombie 2. without the E on it.
Just an I. Just an I.
Yeah, and everybody, they did the same thing with City of the Living Dead, Gates of Hell.
Yeah.
It's Europe gets a version, the U.S. gets a version, whatever.
Yes.
But it's a fun movie. As we've said before, stylistically, you can't fault it.
No.
I mean, we're talking about a movie that 46 years ago, we're sitting here on a podcast talking about the movie that came out 46 years ago, holding it in high regard. You've got Carl wearing a hat with a shirt. I believe Eric's shirt is zombie as well. I think.
Mine is what is this?
Eaten Alive.
Eaten Alive.
Sorry.
But
I thought I had zombie on. My apologies. And I thought, I'm wrong again. I thought Carl has a zombie hat on. We talked about zombie shirts before we started, so I thought that they both put zombie shirts on.
No, I went to get it. I couldn't find the damn thing. But I do have City of the Living Dead.
But they do have zombie shirts. Both you've got hats, you've got shirts. Vinegar Syndrome just put out the zombie comic books, which I had to bring and display here. Fantastic comic book series.
So
there are 4 issues.
I love that thing.
So I mean, again, a movie that's 47 years old, but is spawning all of this new merchandise, and it's still almost
to this day.
Yeah, almost just as iconic now, if not more iconic than when it came out.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely more iconic than when it came out. But I'm just saying, like, it keeps building.
But I think today, honestly, it's the thing that makes it even more relevant today than when it came out. One, they didn't do, all of your Dead films had a consumerism theme, the Vietnam War. They all had a theme to it. This did not. The whole point of this movie is these are zombies. They're created through the use of voodoo. They're here for one thing, that's to kill us.
Yeah.
We are their food.
Yeah.
And it stands up better than probably any other zombie movie because the zombies are truly so unique in appearance.
Well, and they dressed them in a kind of a timeless way where you can't really tell what era it's from. If you watch that film, unless you look at the New York scenes, you're like, I don't know when this was filmed.
Very, very contemporary dress. Very.
I will say, just to give everybody a little public service announcement and to let everybody know, the dubbing is atrocious on this film. I mean, if you like, I know people, my wife being one of them, that if the mouths don't match up with the words, she ain't gonna watch it.
Lee's the same way.
And it drives. I mean, like, I had this film on and Jessica did a 360. She just walked around and went, "See you later." As soon as she saw their mouths move, she's like, "Yep, not watching that."
Even the Americans in the harbor their mouths don't match, but they are American actors.
Yes.
Like, you can tell the way they're speaking, but their mouths are off.
Man, they dubbed them. I mean, they dubbed everybody in the film, whether they spoke English or not. I don't understand why, but they did.
Well, if you think about it, that was just the way they presented things in the 70s. It just there was
nobody cared back then either. I mean,
before this, honestly, before either one of these, and y'all may have seen it, may have not. It came out 74, 75. It's called Sugar Hill.
I hadn't seen it.
Okay, it's a blaxploitation film. Marky Bay's in it. That mom was hot. I would shit. And it's about voodoo inspired zombies. And the whole point of the movie is this woman's boyfriend gets killed. She wants her payback. She goes to an old zombie priestess. She brings Baron Zondi to life. And then he creates his zombies. Zombies look unlike any other zombie you'll ever see. The eyes are like big, almost insect eyes. Their skin color, they're all black actors. Their skin colors are all different, gray to brown. It's just, and their movements were very unique. They looked old and moldy, like they'd been put away and drug out for use. And it reminds me so much of this because of the technical and the color and stuff reminds me so much of Italian cinema. And I was like, and I love that movie. I bet I've watched that movie 1,000
The
times.
special effects artist for this film, who is considered a genius over in Italy, I had his name written down, but I can't find it on here. But he's considered one of the top guys over there. He hated doing this film because of the black people in the film. Not that he's racist, but because he said he could not get the skin right. He said he had to apply the makeup with a paintbrush. I mean, like a literal house paintbrush, because no matter what he put on the skin, they were still. It still showed up black, and he wanted them to be white. He wanted them to be stark or earthen tone, and he couldn't get it right. And finally, he got a paintbrush and put it on so thick that you could see that they were dead at that point. I thought that was a very interesting little antidote.
Yeah, I mean, everybody. The zombie genre, honestly, is one of the more divided, I think, in horror.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, yes.
Because there's been so
It's
many-
very hard to make a zombie film because of the look. I mean, if you have a vampire, you put a couple pointed fangs on them and you roll on, maybe a cape, depending on your time era. Werewolf, you make them look like a wolf, you put some fur on them, do the best you can, you roll on. A zombie, though, is very, because again, we just talked about it, we have so many different looks. You have almost like a fuzzy zombie in Nightmare of the Dead. You've got this one, which is very earthen, very, rotted.
Yes.
Then you've got the blue tone. So, it's
And then you
very...
get the ones that turn back human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From one of the best movies ever.
We just had to go there, didn't we?
Remember, when you watch this, one of us up here does not possess a heart. And it's the girl. I got
Make a movie for Valentine's Day you would think she would like, and she shit all over it.
Warm bodies. It was what I'm an old, bitter, burnout, hateful bastard. Get off my damn yard. And I thought it was cute.
I did too. And Lee's just like, I didn't get it.
It made me feel warm and fuzzy. And she's like, whatever. Bitches.
Yeah.
One last thing I do want to bring up, because not everybody here is familiar with Italian cinema, so they're a little more free over there with their filming and the way they film people and stuff like that. They don't have a problem with nudity.
No.
So there's a lot of nudity in this film, so anybody that's like,
But that's Europe in general.
Exactly. I mean, Dario did the same thing.
It's
I haven't
everybody.
watched an Italian film where somebody's not naked.
Oh, shit. You
To
don't
me,
watch
though,
British
there's a
TV.
difference. There's a difference in nudity in this film and
I agree.
nudity in
None of it's
American
sexual
film.
at all.
No, that's just how
It's
a lot
incidental.
of the women are truly naked. That's.
I mean, they did it
truly-
on purpose. Don't get me wrong. They wanted people.
yeah.
I mean, like the girl going in the water, she didn't have to go in there with no top
not
on.
at all.
But I mean,
Yeah, not at
But
all.
it was the 70s, and it was a common thing.
Yeah,
There
But
was
it
lots
wasn't
of common communal nudity in that back then.
Yeah.
And if you look at it now, you look at an American film, it's strictly there to drive sales.
Yeah.
And if in an Italian film, it's there because their clothes eroded
That's how
away.
they are there.
They're very free with their sexuality.
Well,
they're very free with their
you
bodies.
watch British TV and there's nudity on there that gets you an R rating. Here and kicked out of a cinema.
yeah. And for there, it's just commonplace.
It's common because nudity and foul language are every bit as part of the human.
Well,
day.
it's very much an American thing, the stigma on being naked.
Yeah.
Very much, I was raised with it. I'm sure y'all were raised with it. You don't go out, you keep your shirt on. You don't go out there half naked. We all heard that.
So again, Zombie, extremely iconic, a great film. Again, not the greatest story. Don't go into it for a story because you're not going to get very far. But overall, great effects, 4 extremely iconic scenes. There's 1,001 other scenes that are great, but I think those are probably the 4 most iconic scenes out of the entire film.
One of the prettiest scenes in the whole movie was when the boat is up by Ellis Island.
Yeah.
And almost hit the tug.
Yeah.
And the tug drives by, and there's nobody on it. You can tell it's on auto steer, and it's sailing along. When it's sailed by Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty, you see the towers in the background, and that's just
Yeah.
it's a different time, different day.
Yeah.
Our world changed so much.
The blink of an eye.
24 years ago that and when I saw that, I was like, it's a powerful thing right there.
Yeah, very much so. And I mean, a shot that was just put in a movie that no one
gave a shit about.
No one knew at that time it would
Yeah,
be.
he knew 50 years later, some maniacs were going to bring him down. But, it's just, again, it's Italian art. And aesthetically and cinematically, they're beautiful. Mm-hmm. That's why I watch them. I don't watch them for the story. I watch you watch absolute masters at what they do. And again, I know I've said it probably a million times, the colors in the movie are some of the most vibrant things in the world to me, and that draws me into those so much. I'm really a visual kind of person anyway, but the colors and the sounds and the music, it's a whole, it's a complete package for me.
Yeah. Alrighty, so if you guys are watching this on release day, you still have plenty of time. You still got about 2 days to get your butts to Nashville, Tennessee for the Nashville Full Moon Tattoo and Horror Convention. Come out, see us, grab some movies. We're going to have 2 booths this year, so bring in extra movies. Going to be a fun weekend, going to be a fun time. Carl will be in tow with us for that one.
Again, the Mothershucker costume, so if you want selfies with the Mothershucker.
There you go. I'm not going to go over dates for everything else just because we're going to wrap this up pretty quick, but we do have just to go over the rest of the year. June, we will be in Indianapolis for Days of the Dead Indy. July, we will be back in Nashville for the Nashville Horror Con. Take a little bit of a break. August, we are in Chicago for Flashback Weekend, and then we wrap up the year, as always, in October with Scarefest. Going to be a great year there. Tons of great reunions. Tons of great reunions, especially the Monster Squad. I think that's the one that most people are going to, because there's never really been a big one.
Yeah, I'll be first in line, I'm pretty sure. And he'll be in My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah, so going to be a great year to finish out the rest of the convention. We do have another movie hopefully planned for this year, so if you guys have been following along, you know what that is.
Don't miss it.
If not, you're just going to have to wait and find out. So, anyways, that's little tidbits of information. We'll see what happens from there. Me and Lee will be back in 2 weeks' time with another collection update. And then after that, the 4 of us will be back with another episode. So make sure that you vote, message, tell us what you guys want to see, and let us know.
Let's get some more comments on the videos. I know we don't get a lot of views, but the ones that do, please put what you would like to see or what you don't like that we do. Help us fine tune this.
We don't mind constructive criticism.
No, none at all.
Fan service channel. I've said it 1,000,001 times. You can't be fan service if we don't have fan interaction. So if you guys are watching us, what do you guys want to see? Do you want to hear us talk about more Italian films? Do we want to go over the state of horror today? I don't know. Maybe we need to put a poll out on the old Facebook.
Hell, we'll do one on movie soundtracks. I own hundreds of them.
Yeah. I do think it's funny that the films that we've actually focused on when we've done
Italian.
they're both Italian.
Oh yeah. So,
and we didn't fight once in this episode.
Anyways, we appreciate you. That comes after the camera's off. Anyways, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We hope that you have had fun joining us, and we hope that maybe you learned a little bit from Zombie. If you didn't, we hope that you enjoyed hearing our opinion on Zombie. So, as always, follow us in all those links down below for all the social medias. Follow us there. Go to the website, buy Mothershucker, buy Twisted Gables. Message us on the social media and get yourself a deal. You can get both of them 2 for $40. Add $5 shipping. Save yourself a little bit of money. So, anyways, we appreciate it. We lined out kind of what we got coming up next couple weeks of episodes. Make sure that you join us for all those, and we will catch you next time with another episode of Welcome to Horrorland.
Peace out. See ya.